Hello, my witch and wizard nomads, and welcome to the Nomads of Fantasy podcast, episode 82. I will be your host for this episode. My name is Eric, and with me, as always, I have Dave.
Move your body like a hairy troll, learning to rock and roll. Been around like a crazy elf, a-dancing by yourself. I boogie down like a unicorn, no stopping till the break of dawn. Put your hands up in the air like an ogre that just don't care. The longest photo.
That was a long one. You weren't lying when you said it was long. I don't even. What is that from? I don't even remember that.
From the Winter Ball Dance, the band that plays.
Oh.
They always have like these weird like wizard witch lyrics and stuff like that. So I was having a hard time.
I was literally just watching that one too right before. Well, that's funny. We also, since Brandon is out this week, we have a special guest joining us. We have Matt St. from Anime Talk.
It does not do well to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Albus Dumbledore.
Ooh.
Oh, that was deep. That was nice.
Deep.
I like that one. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Matt. You've joined me on my little sideshow, Eric's Anime Corner, to talk about My Hero Academia quite a while ago. Eric's Anime Corner has been on a little bit of a hiatus. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now, and I want to get back to it. So if you want to join me again, I really wanted to talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners, if you've watched that yet.
I am all the way down for that because, like, I'll talk about that on my season coming. Actually, you know what? I may invite you on to my show to talk about this as well because I do want to talk about it. So I'm excited about that.
I've been needing to talk about it with someone because I finished it quite a while ago, like probably a month ago, and I've just been stewing on it for so long. I've been wanting someone to talk about, but yeah. Anyways, tell us a little bit about your show, Anime Talk.
So, like you said, first of all, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. Like I said, my show is it's Anime Talk with Matt St. or just Anime Talk for short. And so on my show, I do like literally everything. So I talk pretty much all anime. I do anime movie reviews. I do my top 10s. I was just joking, obviously, before we started recording about the fact that I'm supposed to be coming off of hiatus because normally around this time I do a November Tournament of Power where I go in and I kind of create like a bracket and kind of have characters kind of fight in and find out who's the champion. So I do that too. A lot of different rankings, just everything anime that you can think of, from relationships to protagonists, antagonists, and all that good stuff. I talk about it. So just huge off in anime, man.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you here to talk about, I don't even think I mentioned it. If you don't know from the quotes, we're talking about Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
The entire Harry Potter franchise, just that entire umbrella. And we picked this week to do it because, originally my original idea was to force Brandon to watch all of the movies and then we come back and talk about it. But we just decided to do it on the week he's off because he hasn't watched any of the movies. It's a lot of content. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It was supposed to be kind of like a planned thing far in the future, but we just decided to do it while Brandon was gone, since Dave and I are huge Potter fans, and we're happy to bring another Potterhead on the podcast to talk about some Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get into it, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We have next week on the schedule, we're going to be talking about Andor, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. That will be, I feel like, a very interesting episode because I know we all have differing opinions on it. So look forward to that one. And then after that, we're going to take a little 2-week break for the holidays. So after that, we will be back should be back in the new year with, I'm not sure what. I think it's Bahubali 2.
Bahubali 2 is in there somewhere in January.
Oh,
we had to
man.
bump that. I'm excited to see that one.
So that'll be fun. Yeah. But I guess before we take our break, we'll do a little bit of a social section here. I asked the question at Nomads Fantasy on Twitter, just for people's favorite Harry Potter memories. And we actually surprisingly got a lot of really, really good ones. So I'll share some of those here. Jake Iveson, our good buddy, says, "I'll never forget waiting for these movies and books while they were coming out. It It was one of the first franchises I got into. Reading those books with my dad as a kid is definitely one of my earliest memories, which is very sweet.
That's cool.
That's touching.
Draft Punk says, I went to the midnight release for the last book. I was so excited I sat and read the first couple chapters in my car and with the overhead light on before even getting out of the parking lot. I think I stayed up until close to 5 a.m. reading at home before finally passing out.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah.
Seismic Cinema says, favorite memory is the first time I went to the studio tour in London, which is really cool. RD Fine says, 7 years ago, after I gave the first book a shot for the first time, I spent the rest of the summer ripping through the books and watching each movie after reading its book. I was amazed at the richness and detail of the world, especially the latter half of the series.
Cool. So he went book, movie, book, movie, book, movie.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to watch it.
Yeah.
That is a cool way to watch it, especially someone, coming to the franchise after everything is already, out, all the books and the movies are out.
Yeah.
That is a cool way to do it. Opinionated Luscious says, when the sixth movie came out, my friend and I each bought movie tickets to the first two showings. We were in the front of the line for the first showing, watched the movie, left the theater, and then walked to the end of the line to go back inside and watch it again.
Oh, wow.
Man, people take their Potter seriously.
I'm telling you, man.
And that's not a short movie
It's
either.
not.
That's like an all-day event.
Yeah.
Tyler Carver says, my mom drove me to the midnight release of the seventh book at a Kroger, no less, and we waited for about 30 minutes or so, stayed up till 5 or 6 reading it, then woke back up around noon and finished the entire book in one day. Still one of my all-time favorite books. It's crazy.
That's dedication.
And then, let's see. YouTube Oreo Brewer says, during my rewatch, it was a treat seeing Hermione. I'm reading this verbatim. It was a treat seeing Hermione go from snobby cunt to mature woman. Goblet of Fire is still the darkest and best sequel in the series, despite differences. Book and films are great. JK did amazing bringing this to life.
Just a little bit. She was a little bit of a know-it-all, but
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that's a
go that
little
far.
damn.
She was just a little kid.
Right. If I can interject, I know one of my good friends, I know he loves Harry Potter, and he was one of the people that kind of like, well, I wouldn't say that got me into it because I was already watching it, but it was really cool because one of the ones that you said kind of like made me think about him. So what he did was with his little girl, his oldest girl, he sat down and read her Harry Potter like until he finished all the books as she grew up, and then he went
That's really
back
cool.
and like they sat down and actually watched all the movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, well, that's a good intro here. We'll take a little break, and then we will get right in to the Potter right after this.
Your body like a hairy troll. I learned to rock and roll. I spin around like a crazy elf. I dancing by himself. I boogie down like a unicorn. I no stop until the break of dawn. I put your hands up in the air. Like an ogre, just don't care. Can you dance like a hippogriff? Mama, 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 mama. Flying off from a cliff, mama, 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 mama. Moving down to the ground, mama, 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 mama. Wheel around and around and around and around, mama, 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 mama.
And we are back to talk about Harry Potter. We're not really, this is more of like a free-form discussion with some talking points. We're not really going to like go through each movie or book or anything like that. It's more of just a celebration of the entire franchise. Just talking about some of our favorite things, some of our favorite moments, characters, movies, books, how we got introduced to the franchise, our history with it, stuff like that. But I did kind of want to start, right at the beginning with, well, actually, I'll get just a brief intro to, obviously, if you're listening
The Wizard Boy.
If you're listening to this podcast, you know what Harry Potter is. But just to lay the land, this series, the J.K. Rowling wrote the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Well, what is it? What is it? The British version? The
Philosopher's Stone.
Philosopher's Stone. That's what it is.
I like the Philosopher's Stone better. I think.
Me too.
Yeah, that sounds cooler.
Classier.
But 1997, which is just insane to me. I mean, I was let's see, 4 years old when the first book came out.
I was
Okay.
8, I want to say.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that
that
it's
was
that
the end of
long.
my high school. Which is different because I don't know. I feel like it's like a different part of my life when like if the books are out when you're like of the age of Harry Potter, like it seems like that would have more of a like personal impact or emotional impact on you as well.
That's
So-
how I felt. That's exactly how I felt with the movies, because as the
Okay.
movies were coming out, like I think that's part of the reason why I love these characters so much in this world so much, especially the movies, is because these movies were coming out as I was growing up. So I myself was like growing up as the characters and the actors in the movies were growing up and as they were releasing, you know. So that's really interesting to me that, you know, someone from my generation, which I feel like it was sort of made for people in my generation, especially the movies, but someone from Dave's generation can just as easily get into it and, you know, fall in love with the series as well. Like, how are you introduced to it, Dave?
Actually, I went with my 3 sisters to see the first one in the movie theater, and I thought it was little kids bullshit. And because they're so young at that
Right.
point in the movies, like I don't know. It was a very, I don't want to say it was a safe movie, but it didn't quite enrapture me. I hadn't read any of the books. I hadn't done any of that yet. And then eventually, I think a couple years later, I watched Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner, Goblet. Like three or four movies had come out since I jumped back in, and then after that, I was in. Started reading all the books, got through all the books before the last movies were out, I think so. But no, it was crazy. I slept on it. I think it's just because I'm older.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be. How about you, Matt? How'd you get in there?
I remember reading the book. I read the first book in school. And then I remember like probably halfway through the book, this is a complete side story, but like my parents are very religious.
Mhm.
So I was able to read the first book, and as I started reading through the first book, then my mom was like, "Yo, you're not reading that anymore," because obviously wizards, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wizards all
That-
that,
yep.
like, so she was like, "You're not watching this, or you're not reading this anymore." So I was like, "Well, damn, I'm already like halfway through. You might as well go ahead and finish." But so then I was at school one day, and everyone knows like when you have like that substitute, the real cool substitute that just lets you watch movies. We watched
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Oh,
And so,
that's nice. That's a
like,
good sub.
Yeah, so I was like, this is really cool. So I was able to watch like the first half of it because, you know, obviously class wasn't super duper long. But well, I know actually I finished the whole thing because it was like a half day. So we finished like the whole thing. So I was able to watch it, and I was like, from there on, I was hooked. I was like, I just gotta wait, and my mom will eventually get through this phase where like I'll be able to read it later. And she didn't. She didn't get through the phase. So I watched the first one, and then I didn't watch the rest of them. I binge watched the rest of them probably when I turned like I moved out of my house at 17. So
Oh, wow.
like when I moved out, it was like Harry Potter galore. I watched
Potter
like
time.
everything. Yeah, I watched it all. Like back to
It was
back
like
to
the
back.
forbidden fruit. As soon as you moved out, you're like, I gotta watch all these movies.
I was like, now I get to go back and watch it now. Who's a wizard now, Mom? Huh? So
That's awesome though, because Eric, you watch them as they came out.
Yeah.
And then
So
me and Matt both kind of binged through chunks of them, and then watched the last two. So it's
I know I was introduced to it because I think my grandma was really, really into it, which is kind of funny. I think she's the one who actually introduced us to the series because like she was a librarian, you know, for a while before she retired. So she was like always on top of the latest releases and books. So when the Harry Potter series started coming out, she was one of the first people to like know about it and know
She knew it
that
was
like
hot
this thing
shit.
is going to be big. So she kind of introduced it to us, like, I mean, all of her grandchildren. And, you know, all of my cousins and my brother kind of got on the train of reading the books. I never really got too much into the books, but when the movies started coming out, that's where I really latched onto it. I know I've read some of the first book. I've read some of the third book, but like I haven't read through all the books or anything. But the movies are like my main thing. So as the movies started coming out, I'm like, I'm way into this. Like, and like, it's cool because the books were kind of coming out, in tandem with the movies a little bit. I mean, not book for book, but by the time the last movie came out, all the books are out and they were releasing in that way. But no, it was really cool because I kind of got to grow up with this whole franchise, and like Dave said, the movies started out a little bit aimed a little bit more towards kids. And as the audience grew up, the movies got more mature with each movie as well. So, by the time the last movie comes out, I'm like a teenager. And, I'm just eating that shit up,
You want to see some wizard murders.
Exactly.
They're just tossing
Lots of
around
wizard murder.
the kill curse everywhere.
Yep. Avada Kedavra.
Avada Kedavra. I tell people that all the time. Like, I couldn't be a wizard specifically because of that curse. Like,
it's just fun to say.
Yeah, like you gonna cut me off in traffic? Avada Kedavra. I'm getting tired of waiting in line with you. Avada Kedavra. I'm just hitting everybody with it, like just everywhere.
Nakini tells me the old Muggle caretaker is standing just outside the door. Step aside, Wormtail, so I can give our guest a proper greeting. Avada Kedavra!
Yeah, I felt really bad. Like I was a shitty little kid that liked spoiling surprises. So I told Dave this story last week, but it's a good one. My brother was reading, I forgot which book exactly it was. It might have been, I don't know. I think it was the one where Sirius Black dies, which I think is the Half-Blood Prince. Is that it? So he was reading that in his room. And my grandma had finished it already at this point, and she told me what happens. Like, she told me that Sirius Black dies. And I was like, oh, okay. So I knew my brother was reading it. So he's reading it in his room one day, and I just run into his room. I yell, Sirius Black. No. This is what happened. I said, do you want to know what happens at the end of the book? And he said, no, don't tell me. And I'm like, are you sure? And he said, no, don't tell me. And then I just said, okay. And then I started to walk away. And then I came back in and said, Sirius Black dies, and then ran away.
It's still rough. Even this.
And I felt so bad because after that, he didn't read the books again. Like, I ruined it for him. And I was like, to this day, I just feel so bad about it. But
you should get him. Did he drop Potter entirely? He watched the movies.
I think he's seen all the movies. I really don't think he finished all the books though.
Get him a nice book set for Christmas.
I should.
Like that.
It was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
Really? Where Sirius
First
Black
one?
dies?
No, I'm sorry. Hold on. That was my fault. I was dumb. I was looking for somebody else. Yeah, it was Half-Blood. You're right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was like, no way. Maybe
the Sirius is coming out as a bad guy party.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yep. But yeah. So I still feel bad about that.
Sirius is Snape's. Sorry.
Snape's coming out party. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, we talked about a little bit of how we got into it, but I kind of want to get into a little bit of why, what is it about Harry Potter that makes us gravitate towards it, that makes us geek out about it and love it so much. And I know for me, the main thing is just the world. I think the world is the main character of the entire franchise. Like, I think the world that J.K. Rowling created, the wizarding world, it's one of my favorite worlds in fantasy, period. Like, there just feels like there's so much depth and the amount of like lore and history behind the wizardry. Like, the wizards have been around for thousands of years, and it feels like it, just with the world that they built and everything. And yeah, I don't know. There's just something about that world that every time I watch the movies, I just get chills, seeing all the different creatures. And then, I rewatched the first one, Sorcerer's Stone, the other day, and just the first shot when they're walking down Diagon Alley and Harry's, he's picking out all his school supplies, going to get his wand and everything. I'm just like, man, that world is so cool.
Yeah.
And they don't I don't know, and even I guess there's a lot more in the books too.
Oh yeah,
I haven't read the books in a while, but there's no Silmarillion version of the Wizarding World. You just know that it's been around for so long.
Right.
It's kind of it's the unknown of it that makes it so intriguing, because there's so much opportunity for cool shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's not like D&D where there's just a list of spells that you can cast.
Mhm.
People are making up their own spells. There's potions that do all sorts of crazy stuff. So that's what kind of makes Fantastic Beasts kind of cool, is because it's just fleshing out that world more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the movies aren't as great as the Potters, that's a whole different story.
I didn't mind the first movie, the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I think that's the only one I saw actually, but I thought it was okay. It did do a good job of expanding, like you said, expanding the world a little bit more outside of Hogwarts, which is kind of the kind of stuff that I like to see.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about you, Matt?
I think the thing that I love about it, like you said, one is the way that the world is built, because I'm huge off of that. But then two, I think it's just there's this. I think that a lot of series do a really bad job sometimes of narrowing the lens on what the movie is supposed to be about. But there's so many levels to this movie. Even though we know that the movie centers primarily around Harry Potter, there is such a build up around the subsidiary characters that you're not just watching the movie just invested into Harry Potter. You're hey, I fell in love with Hermione, I fell in love with Ron, I fell in love because even Neville, Neville Longbottom, Seamus, the side characters that they kind of brought in, they weren't just useless characters. They were characters who had a part in it. And they just they did a really good job of just building that nucleus around Harry Potter, because it's the old cliche of that whole, what is it, it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole thing, because through all the trials and tribulations that Harry had to deal with, he couldn't do any of those things alone. No matter how OP he was, he couldn't do half of the stuff that he needed to do by himself. So I think they did just a really good job of kind of building up the side characters, and like you said, the music, and just it felt like it makes
music is ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you want, I hate school, but if I had an opportunity to go to Hogwarts, I would have enrolled day one. I was ready for the sword and hat. I already knew. I took 5,000 tests because I was I need to find out which house I'm in. It was just all that stuff. So they just did a really good job on all that.
I think it's something relatable for everybody too, is kind of growing up with classmates, and coming back for the new school year, and you see all the people you haven't seen all summer.
Yep.
And it's very relatable for everybody too, which makes it, I don't know.
Yeah.
A very cool part of growing up.
Yeah. And even the sports aspect, with Quidditch, introducing Quidditch and all that good stuff, that was cool. Cause we all know that we all had, going to school, we all had those jocks, you know what I'm saying? And the guy, you had the cool, cool kids, the jerks, you know what I'm saying? The jocks, the nerds and stuff like that. It gave you all of that. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
except we just give them all, we put them all in houses now.
Yeah.
Send the nerdy kids over to Ravenclaw, and all the bullies over to Slytherin.
Yep.
Oh.
No, I definitely think that that relatability to all the different characters is really important too. Because Harry comes in, he's the chosen one, but he's kind of marked as an outcast because of that. He didn't choose to be that. I was just rewatching Sorcerer's Stone, like I said the other day, and everyone treats him like garbage because he's the chosen. He has this destiny that he didn't even choose. Obviously Draco's the main one. He's just an asshole all around. But you feel bad for Harry in the beginning because there's so many expectations put upon him just because he's, you know, the boy who lived.
Yeah.
So, you know, you feel bad for him, and you kind of relate to him, you know, being an outcast and, you know, the school, and like he didn't even he was just introduced to this whole idea of being a wizard, and then he's just thrown into this school like
the next day.
He's like 10 years old. Yeah. And yeah, the next day he gets transported away from everything, which was a good thing for him because, you know,
for sure.
The Dursleys were also terrible people. But yeah, definitely relatable characters. All the characters are fantastic that get introduced throughout the entire franchise. I was also just watching Goblet of Fire. And like Mad Eye Moody is such a good character. And like I would love to just see an entirely separate movie or like series on him, like in his like dark wizard hunting days.
Yeah,
that would be
buddy cop show.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And I think that's what makes it so good too, is like we talked about the richness of the characters. Like each one of these characters could have their own side movie or side series, and it would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd call it like Midnight Moody. You know what I'm saying? He's
that would be cool.
Yeah, he's just kind
of that's good.
Like a noir kind of runner for wizards.
Yeah,
that would be really good.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in too.
One thing that's kind of crazy about these, and I'm just while we're talking about the group of them in general or whatever, is like the consistency and the quality of how good they are from like beginning to the end. There's like there's not a bad one in there. Yeah. And like, you know, the beginning you get some kid acting, whatever. But as they grow up, like they all become, you know, solid actors. Like there's no dip in quality between the directors, or I guess they all kind of have like their own feel, but I think that's more like, you know, how the books are progressing and the story's progressing rather than the directors that are coming in and out. So
yeah, for sure.
I think all of them have the same screenwriter except for one, Order of the Phoenix too, which might be part of it. But there's 4 different directors that did the 7 movies.
Yeah,
8 movies.
8.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, since we talked about what we love, can I just go on a quick? I'm not even going to quick tangent. I'm just gonna say,
oh, by all means.
I absolutely hated Dudley. Like he stood for like everything that I cannot stand in a kid. Like this entitled. He is he's like, you know, 37. He's like, well, you know, last year you got me 37. I'm like, it's 36 presents, bro. Like,
right.
I can barely get 4 presents, you know what I'm saying, for my birthday or Christmas, let alone, you know what I'm saying, like 30 something. And he's like, yeah, I want more. And I'm like, what? And then like as he grows up, the same way that like Harry is like progressing and he's finding like these friends and trying to like do better for himself, like Dudley is still like this whole like just dick the whole time. He's like, oh, he's like, what about your mom? Huh? Is you screaming? You're crying about your boyfriend? I'm like, why are you such a like? Do you not realize who I am? Like, that's why like I couldn't be a wizard, because like if I was Harry, I'd be like, do you not realize who I am? Like, do you not know? Like, you don't know about me, but I suggest that you ask. Like, you ask somebody about who I am. Like, I'm not Harry Potter that just gets picked on anymore. Okay, like I'm about to fight the Dark Lord. Like, don't come at me sideways. So I cannot stand Dudley.
Even the Dementors that got him right there. Like, he blamed that shit on Harry too. I'm like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah. His dad's like, what did you do to him? He's all gone loopy. I'm like, well, he was loopy from the very beginning. I mean, like.
Yeah. I think
it's good.
They set that. I think it makes sense. They set that up, especially in the first movie. Yeah. That contrast between Dudley and Harry. Like Dudley, like you said, Dudley is just a completely entitled, spoiled asshole, and Harry is this kid who his parents died. He comes from nothing. Like he has nothing in the beginning. You know, and he's just like a humble little kid trying to get through in the world and survive. So yeah, you gotta feel for him. Yeah. But yeah, if we get a little bit more specific here, I already mentioned it, but I wanted to talk about which I guess book / movie is our favorite. Mine is The Goblet of Fire. It's weird because it used to be Prisoner of Azkaban. I feel like when I was younger, it was The Prisoner of Azkaban, and I've seen it so many times, like I know it by heart. But I think it was because that's the one where it starts to get a little bit darker. You know, it starts to introduce some more of the darker concepts, like with the Dementors and everything, and the idea of Voldemort, you know, returning. And but yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban used to be my favorite, but I think Goblet of Fire recently has sort of edged it out, because the more I watched it, the more I think it does more of what I liked in Prisoner of Azkaban, but like in a better way. Like in the Goblet of Fire, we get the first full reveal of Voldemort, like building up, and it's much more mature feeling, because we have, you know, the whole Cedric Diggory death and everything like that. That really, Cedric. That still hits me, yeah, pretty hard whenever that scene happens. But
my boy,
yeah,
I was like every time I hear that,
really
I'm
sad.
Like, my tears, you can't do
this
that.
shit
right
breaks
now.
my heart. My boy. Oh man,
because they come back and everybody's like cheering, like, oh, you know, they won, like they think everything's good, like they got the cup, they won, but then Harry's screaming like, no, he's dead. Oh, man,
it gets quiet too, and his dad finds out.
Yeah, that's tough.
For God's sake, Dumbledore, what's happened? He's back. He's back. Voldemort's back. Cedric, he asked me to bring his body back. I couldn't leave him. Not that.
It's all right, Harry. It's all right. He's home. You both are.
Keep everybody in their seats. A boy's just been killed. The body must be moved, Dumbledore. There are too many people. Let me through. Let me through! Let me through. That's my son! That's my boy! My boy!
Get up. Easy. Easy. This is not where you want to be right now. Come on.
Yep. Yeah, and they introduced the Death Eaters, like the whole scene in the Quidditch World Cup, you know, where it starts out, you know, happy and fun, you know, with this whole festival and everything surrounding the Quidditch World Cup, and then shit turns bad real fast when the Death Eaters show up and literally just start setting tents on fire and killing people. And I'm like, wow, this is dark, man.
For sure.
What about you, Matt? Where's your favorite lie?
Honestly, I was going to say that one. It's crazy that you said that, because I was going to say that one, but I decided to go Prisoner of Azkaban.
That's funny.
So I went Prisoner of Azkaban just because it introduced two of my favorite characters, or, well, I wouldn't say two of my favorite characters, but it introduced like some characters that I was really looking forward to, with like Sirius Black was brought in, and then of course you had Professor Lupin, who I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Like the whole, and even for me, learning was like the difference between the werewolf and the animagus. So like learning, you know, like just those type things about the actual world, like that was really cool for me. So that one was really cool. And like you said, the Dementors, and just, you know, how everything was just kind of laid out with Bellatrix and everybody, like the prison break and everything that was kind of happening. You're like, there's so much happening right now. Like, what's going on, you know? And like, where's like, and then even the little spell that Sirius did where he's like, you know, keep your friends close, and, you know, trying to tell them, you know, all these different things of like, you know, like, I'm here for you. Like I know you've been dealing with so much of this stuff by yourself alone. I'm telling you right now, like, this is who I am. I'm here for you. Just give me some time and I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, help is on the way. So, I really like that one.
Get Sirius a toothbrush in Azkaban, man. That poor guy. He's been out of Azkaban for a while, and man, he's still looking rough.
Yeah, he came out looking like a fate worse than death for sure.
Yeah.
You don't expect to see Gary Oldman in that role either, and I think he kills it.
He did.
That's one of my favorite roles that he plays, Sirius Black.
He's first in the beginning though. He's like so skinny and like emaciated. Like it's kind of crazy. Like he looks like he's been having a hard go of things.
Yeah, well, that was the one that also had that was the Patronus too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
When he learned how to do that, and they because they did the the Bogart when they were fighting the little which that thing was absolutely freaky. Like I am deathly terrified of spiders. So when that big ass spider came out,
Oh,
like, and even with Aragog, like when that spider came out, I can deal with snakes. I have snakes. I have snakes myself, but like I cannot deal with spiders. It's all the eyes and the legs. And when I saw that spider come out, and he's like, "No, you just gotta get," I'm like, "No," because that thing would have killed me. Like at that point, like that innocent thing would have killed me. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones.
I think part of the reason I used to love Azkaban so much, and I still do love it. Like it's probably number 2 for me. I'm also a sucker for anything to do with time travel.
Yeah.
And the time travel aspect of Prisoner of Azkaban, like I love that. Like seeing everything from the different perspective and realizing that all the things that were happening were caused by them going back in time, and like the whole thing with basically Harry saving himself with the Patronus charm from the Dementor at the end. Like that, all that stuff was so cool to me.
Yeah.
Especially when I was a kid, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with both of you guys. I mean,
Top 2.
3 and 4 are kind of
Yeah.
like the cream of the crop there. I mean, even like Chamber of Secrets wasn't bad. The kids were still a little young for it to be like
Chamber of
serious.
Secrets, I think, is my least favorite of all the movies. Yeah.
That one's where it's like, shit gets a little bit real, where there's like, cats getting petrified, and I'm petrified, not dying or whatever, but like you're hearing evil things talk through walls and stuff like that. Like it's starting to ramp up a little bit, but I think 3 and then 4, where it's like I won't say like the loss of innocence, but it's like them like stepping from being like children into being like young adults, kind of, which is a big jump. But I think Goblet of Fire, that one kind of edges it out, because I don't know. I love the trials that they got to go through for the tournament, which is awesome. I love the other schools that you get to see. Other wizards are out there doing their own wizardy things, their own wizardy way.
You get to see Victor Crumb.
Victor Crumb. Yep.
He's an artist. Ron and his man crush on him. That's hilarious.
The jealousy that was Ron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
He's a real piece of work sometimes in these movies. He's kind of a spoiled
Ron.
shit.
Yeah.
Like he ruins the ball for Hermione, which is a real dick move. He gets mad at Harry in the beginning because he thinks he put his name in the cup, doesn't trust his friend there. So he's kind of a shit a couple times throughout these movies.
Well, and I think that movie kind of changed a little bit of his trajectory later on, because it started then. Like, and I didn't pay attention to it the first time I watched it, but that's really when you started to see like what was set up later on in the series about like when he had the amulet and stuff like that. Like you can see that a lot of that stuff had already been festering from that movie. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
Yep.
I never like to see Harry and Ron fight.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just get along.
Right. They're supposed to be best friends.
Right.
Well, I mean, he's living in the shadow of like Luke Skywalker. He's like, he's like his little sidekick. So he's, and he's from the Weasley family, who doesn't have much, and
always gets shit on.
Kid steps in. But yeah, Ron. Those robes that he had to wear too. Those are good.
Oh man.
We're getting Ron. He
I
looks
want
like
one of those sweaters though. I do want one of those the Weasley sweaters. Those seem pretty cool.
Big
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Goblet of Fire is definitely tops for me. But you'll like this, Matt. I mean, I'm also a sucker for tournament arcs in anime. So, I mean, the Goblet of Fire is basically one big tournament arc.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I love it. I love all that stuff. So.
It was good. It's definitely my close second. So I'm glad to see that we're all kind of aligned somewhat in that one. So,
and obviously like we said, like all the movies are really good. And I feel like there's like a separation after the Goblet of Fire, because 5, 6, and then Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, they all feel like they're all more cohesive and connected in one cohesive story leading up to the final showdown with Voldemort and everything, and getting the Horcruxes obviously in Deathly Hallows.
They got a mission,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have the mission there, and like 1, 2, 3, I guess 4, like you said, is kind of the transition to like some of the more mature and like the actual main line to Voldemort. But 1, 2, and 3 are kind of setting up things, and they feel like kind of like their own bespoke stories a little bit. So there's
A world building in there.
yeah. So there's a different tone going towards the latter half of the movies, which I like. I like that, you know, there's that separation there.
Yeah. They did that whole Batman thing where they just continuously just got darker and darker and darker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
The Horcruxes, is that the cave scene in Order of the Phoenix with Dumbledore in the cave?
That's
Or is
what. That's
Half-Blood?
that's one. I think
That's Half-Blood.
Yeah.
That is another, because Order of the Phoenix, I could see Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood being more like in the top 3 for me too, because they're still they're good, but they're just all kind of a continuation, like you said, of the same let's get the Horcruxes kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's some great stuff in those too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think those are probably the ones that I've watched the least. Is like I would probably say 6 and 7 for whatever part 1 and 2, Deathly Hallows. I think I've only seen those like maybe twice, but like 1 through 4, I think I've seen like dozens of times. But yeah, really really good stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think like favorite character. We already did like movie rankings and stuff. Favorite characters, favorite moments, any stuff like that kind of comes to mind.
Favorite character was definitely. There was so many characters. That, like,
yeah, there's
True,
so
it's
many
hard.
good ones. It's hard to choose.
But honestly, like if I had to say a favorite character, there'd have to be close to a tie, but one beats out the other. So I would say I really, really loved Sirius. I loved the way that they kind of brought him in. I loved his form, like where you can turn into the dog, like I absolutely love that. But believe it or not, man, I think that like Snape was probably my favorite character. Like I
It's
hated
probably the
him
most interesting character for
yeah,
sure.
because I hated him in the very beginning. Like I absolutely could not stand this guy at the very. I'm like, dude, you shitting on Harry all the time. You talking stuff about his dad, but then like as you get to like when he does that, when that curse, like when Harry hits him with the curse where he goes inside of his mind. And like he starts to see like the stuff that was going on, like why he is the way he is, then you're like immediately like, now I feel sad. Like I'm sad for you. Like you didn't choose this life. You had, and then like, his dad was bullying you. You fell in love with his mom, but you could never be with his mom, so you ended up just being a friend. And then like as you progress later on through it, then you're like, not only did all that happen, you also had this huge task that you had to undertake from Dumbledore. You had to offer up the Lily's kid, the kid who you wish that you were the dad of, and that what I'm saying, like you tried to be there for. Like he had to make the unbreakable vow. He had like so many things, and then for him to turn around at the very end and be like, in Voldemort in that scene where he's basically like, no, he's like, technically, you're the reason. You're the reason why the wand doesn't obey me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, man. And I'm like, no. And then just like Nagini kill. And I'm like, not that you got hit with the curse spell and you got eaten by a snake. Like it was just so horrible. It was just like he went from like zero to hero like that. And it was just I felt very sad about that whole situation. And then turn around and the actor actually die in real life, like that was really sad too. And I mean, I know some characters have died since then, but it's just I don't know.
Rest
it
in
just
peace,
it hurts.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah, it just kind of hurts my heart. So that'd probably be my favorite character.
It's awesome. Yeah, I feel like mine. I don't know. It's so hard to choose, but I love Hagrid. I mean, how can you not love Hagrid?
Yeah.
How can you not love Hagrid? Like he's always there for Harry and his friends, like constantly throughout the entire series. He sort of takes in Harry under his wing in like, the first movie, and Harry doesn't really have a parental figure, and I feel like Hagrid is probably the closest thing to that, for Harry. So, that's, and like he's just a lovable guy. And like he's always trying to do right by Dumbledore, and like Hogwarts, and he does his job well. He's a good groundskeeper, and you feel bad for him, especially in Prisoner of Azkaban when he has the whole Buckbeak thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, come on, Buckbeak, yeah.
Well, this is good.
Yeah, he almost put Vernon in a box, man. I was ready for that when he showed up the first time, and he's like, "Don't you ever disrespect Albus Dumbledore." In my
That's
presence.
right.
I was like,
That's
yes.
right, man.
He's
And
like,
you know,
better back up off my man's.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't want to mess with Hagrid.
No.
Like he's a big teddy bear, but like if he
If he is
feel
upset,
like
he's
if you get him
upset.
mad, yeah, you're gonna regret it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta love Hagrid. Like how can you not?
I got one that's a little different though. I want to give a shout out to a bad guy.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Bellatrix Lestrange is the craziest, nastiest lady in all of I don't know, in all of call this the Potterverse.
No.
I just think that just the crazy eyes that she gets, Helen Bonham Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like you feel like she could actually do anything and murder anybody at any time. Like
Say,
it's kind of
she plays it well. And anyone who could break out of Azkaban, you don't want to mess with her.
And she murders Dobby too. Like she does not.
Poor
She
Dobby.
does
Poor
not
Dobby,
give a
yeah.
shit. She's a very good bad guy. I guess I just wanted to say because I don't know. Voldemort seems like he's that guy's nasty and all, but she's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like the Weasley brothers too, like the Fred and George.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They just, I don't know, they have that older brother vibe to them where they're kind of always they're like smoother with the ladies, and they're the ones that have the Marauders map, and they do all open their own business, and they do all this cool shit that, like, I don't know, kind of looked up to them as older brothers of the younger crew,
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking out for them, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. I didn't like Percy, but I like those two though.
no, Percy was kind of a turd.
Yeah.
Nobody. I'm a prefect or first boy. He kept
Yeah.
like
First boy.
when you rewatch it,
yeah.
when you rewatch the movies, like you catch those like it's like his only lines is him just bragging about being head boy. Like anytime,
Like, oh, you're
he'll just
cool.
be in like prisoner of Azkaban or whatever. He's got like a little bit in there, and it's just him bragging about being head boy. That's good.
Let me through, please. Excuse me, I'm head boy.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I agree. Like Bellatrix Lestrange was, like you said, I think Voldemort had, like, they always say that there's something about a bad guy with a motive and a bad guy who's just crazy. And like Voldemort had a motive, like he knew what he needed to do. He understood his assignment. Bellatrix was just like, look, I care zero about any of that. The only thing that I care about is doing whatever I want. As long as you don't check that, I'm perfectly fine. Like I will stand by you. But I'm pretty, like you said, I'm pretty sure like if something had happened, I'm pretty sure like if he had tried to control her or something, she would have been like, okay, well, guess what? I'm gonna go ahead and go at you too. You know what I mean? She just gave that vibe. Like, you know what? You said
anyone who was in her way, she was just she wasn't having it.
Yeah, because I mean, even with his orders, like he really just said like, no, not Harry, and she was like, okay, so I can kill Hermione, I can kill Ron, I can kill Neville, I can kill whoever else, right? And he's like, yeah, everybody else is good, just not Harry. He's like, all right. She's like, cool.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's
ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be the scariest thing. Like, especially in a world of witches and wizards, like a psychopath or a sociopath with a wand.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you can kill somebody with the flick of your wrist. And
and she was like super. And I think the other thing too is like she was not only super crazy, but like you said, she was like. She knew what she wanted. Like she knew what she was going to do. And she's like one of the only females that you really hear about. Like in the wizarding world, like, I mean, people have talked about, even with when Ron's mom was trying to fight her or whatever. And it's like, that's my kid, but I'm like, yeah, but I mean, nobody ever heard of you. Like, you know what I mean? Besides,
right.
Like, besides Hermione, we all knew that Hermione was going to be an amazing, witch. But like, besides Hermione, like the only other female that you really heard that really struck fear into, like from a female standpoint was Bellatrix. Like and she was strong enough, like you said, to your point, to get out of jail and be on the right hand of the Dark Lord. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she was the only one that he wasn't like pissed off with when he got out, when he came back, because he was like, no, I understand her situation. She was completely locked up. Like she was in straight jackets and in solitary confinement. I understand why she couldn't come back, but everybody else, y'all have some explaining to do. Like I got questions. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, transition from there. I feel like we've talked a lot about movies, characters. I want to get into a little. I don't know if you guys have really had much experience with any of the Harry Potter video games, but I know that I have dabbled in a couple of them here and there. There haven't been like a lot of great ones, but some of the ones that I remember playing were the Sorcerer's Stone PlayStation 1 game, which, yeah,
really?
I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
know if I remember that at all.
Well, this was in like the early 2000s, so this was a big era of lots of video games based on movies were coming out. So like, I'm pretty sure they released a video game for each of the movies. And I know I played the Sorcerer's Stone on PlayStation 1, which was an alright game for its time. And then
Did
there
you get
was
to run around the castle?
a little bit, which I, again, probably when you
That's the
go
best
back to it today, it doesn't, hold
I'm
up
looking at it
at
right
all.
now, and this looks absolutely ridiculous. I would not have played this. So.
Listen, I was like, I don't even know, probably like 5 or 6 years old playing this, and it blew my mind. But there was that one, and there was actually a turn-based Harry Potter game on the Game Boy Advance. The Prisoner of Azkaban game was a turn-based game on the Game Boy Advance, which is another one that I really liked. And I actually went back and played it semi-recently, and it's not a bad game. It still holds up pretty well.
Really?
But I guess the main reason I wanted to talk or bring this up was because I know that Hogwarts Legacy is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And like that is like one of my dream games that I've been wanting and wishing for a very long time. Like an open world Harry Potter game where you are a student enrolled in Hogwarts and you're living out this fantasy, just walking around the castle, going to classes, going on adventures, and it just looks like everything that I've wanted from a Harry Potter video game.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially like just being able to fly around. Like I think you can get on your broom and just fly down to Hogsmeade and do whatever you want. Like that's kind of ridiculous to think of.
The customizations look amazing in that too. Like
Yeah.
to be able to change your character and stuff like that. That looks pretty dope too.
I don't know why they don't have a VR thing inside the castle. Like that would be an interesting thing to put together.
Yeah,
that would be that would be really cool. But yeah, I just want to bring that up because I know I'm super excited for that game.
Harry Potter Chaos at Hogwarts.
What is that?
Looks like it's a VR experience. So take a look at that. Looks interesting.
It's cool.
It's saying that this game is supposed to come out. I remember the release getting pushed. Is it still set to February 10th, or did it push back further?
No, it was originally supposed to come out, I think in like November of this year, and then I know it's gotten pushed out a few times. So I think, the current release date is the February 2023 release date.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's coming out, relatively soon. But yeah, I'll be really excited when that one comes out.
For sure.
But it looks like this VR thing is not. It says you have to buy tickets to it. So
it must be like a whole thing then.
It must be somewhere rather than just freely available, which is a little interesting. But I'll send you the link there. So
we've talked about the movies. We've had spin-off movies with Fantastic Beasts. We've had a Broadway play musical sequel type thing. What was that? I forgot what that was called, but it was like basically the events of Harry when he was, I forgot how many years it was later, but like 10 or 15 years after the Deathly Hallows.
You're talking about the the curse of the
cursed child.
Yeah, Cursed Child,
That
yeah.
was it. Yeah, I haven't seen that, or obviously I haven't seen the play or read the screenplay or anything. But
Are those canon technically?
yeah, that's
Okay.
yep. But what do we want for the history of this, or the future of this franchise? I know I mentioned like I would love to see some TV series or some streaming series on HBO Max or whatever it is about certain character, like backstory of Sirius Black, or stuff like that. Like I just think this world is so rich with characters and lore that they can expand upon it in so many different ways. And I don't know, I feel like a TV series would be the way to go at this point. I mean, you could always release more books and more movies, but I feel like everything's kind of going the
Takes
way.
so long.
Yeah, right.
It takes so long to write a book, and then it takes another like 3 years to make a movie. Like,
Yep.
I guess if you Disneyfy it, like how they're just putting out all these side stories and stuff like that, like it would be kind of interesting to see some of those. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say, would you want that? Do you think it would be too much Harry Potter content if they just started releasing series on every side character in the Harry Potter franchise?
I wouldn't mind if they did it something like Game of Thrones is doing, where maybe they don't like, because the first season of Game of Thrones is all about the White Walkers, or like the whole series is all about the White Walkers. Harry Potter, all we know is like that mystery centered around Harry Potter in that world. I'd almost like to do what they do in the game, the new game, Hogwarts Legacy, that's coming out, and just throw it back to like, I don't know, 100 years ago, and let's start fresh with like a new wizarding family. Or you could do like, you could do the Blacks, do their ancestors. I don't know, Sirius's great grandpa or something. Who knows? Kind of build it out from there. I think that'd be kind of cool just to see. And let's make it R. Let's make it
hard R.
Hard R. I want wizarding, foul language, and murder, and I want it to get real in the wizarding world.
You want some suggested themes?
Yeah, right. The gritty Harry Potter reboot.
Yeah. No, it would be pretty cool. I kind of agree with that. Like, I think a series would kind of be cool to kind of like fill the gaps, but I wouldn't say like in that way. I would say like to fill the gaps more. So like more so like the stuff that happens in between the books and in between the movies, or I guess in between the movies, because I didn't really read the books, but in between the movies. So like in between the seasons, like what are they doing when they're like, when they're out of school, or like maybe some more school play, like, some of the classes that they took and things like that. I think that would be cool. But my original thought though is bringing back the curse, like doing a Cursed Child. Like, and I had to look it up because I wanted to make sure. I remember seeing something the other day, and shout out to you guys, by the way. You have been saying it right. It is the Potterverse. That is literally what it is called. So it is the Potterverse. So shout out, you've been saying it right. But I was looking because I was curious. I remember seeing something a while back where they were saying that Warner Brothers wanted to do the Cursed Son. They wanted to do an additional movie. So personally for me, I would say that's what I want to see. Like, I don't need it to go any further than that. I'm okay with them just giving me like us being able to see his son, because apparently like I guess in that movie the son is like, it's almost like a spin-off. I don't know. Like, I hate to reference like anime, but that's my thing. But it's almost like the spin-off of like Naruto and Boruto. Because it's like the son, like, your dad went through everything to be able to get to where he is now. And then once he gets to where he is, because I think it's supposed to follow like Harry becoming like the Minister of Magic or something like that, or something similar. And then his son is like, basically, my dad has no time for me, and he doesn't give me any attention. So I'm going to be this bad kid that gets placed in like Slytherin or something. And like, so he goes kind of the opposite of his dad. And so like then they have to kind of like come together, I think, and like end up like fighting another great evil or something. So I mean, I would love to see like how they kind of actually play that, because like you said, I think it gives you the reboot, and you don't have to worry about using the old characters, because like at this point Daniel Radcliffe is going to be older, Hermione's going to be older, Ron's going to be older, so you don't have to worry about them. We already know that Snape is dead. Rest in peace to Snape. We know we don't have to recast Dumbledore. We don't have, like, there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily have to do. It kind of gives you a segue back in, which is something that I wish that Matrix had done, and I'm not going to take this time to talk about that, but I wish that they had done something like this. Just create a brand new storyline with new characters that we haven't seen before. You can introduce some of the old characters. Like Neville could come back as a teacher. We know he was a herbologist. He can come back and teach herbology. You can introduce those characters in a certain type of way. But I would love to see like a continuation, just for us to be able to see Harry grown, Hermione grown, Ron grown, everybody grown, and their kids actually come up and kind of like do a reset on the Philosopher's Stone, and then or like like the Philosopher's Stone, and then from there we can finish it. Like that can be the end. We can tie off. They can defeat the great evil, and then we all ride into the sunset. We go back to the platform. We ride back into the sunset or something like that. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be like a Cobra Kai situation. It's like the next generation of wizards and witches. Yeah,
is Daniel Radcliffe going to come back as Harry at some point? You think? Like they have to do something more.
They'd have to.
I would see it. I could see it for sure.
Yeah, they'd have to. I mean, I think even Draco Malfoy had a kid too. So you know what I mean? Like this. So I mean, this could be a situation where they work together. You know what I mean? Like. We don't know. Like, at least just give us the closure, because I feel like that was the problem with the last movie. Is like we see them going back to the platform, and he's like,
right.
Then look, I wouldn't have named you after two great wizards if you weren't going to be okay when you go off to school. And then it's like, all right, here comes the music, and we're done. And like you know, I don't really get the closure that I desire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Like you only get little sprinklings from that prologue of the last book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And, Ron pulled the baddie. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like Ron and Hermione, and you know what I'm saying? Like Harry and Jenny. Yeah, like they were all there. Everybody was good. Even Malfoy ended up with the old girl from I think she was in Slytherin. Was she in Slytherin or was she in Ravenclaw?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, she was she was one of the characters. I want to say she may have been in Slytherin house, but yeah, like even he had like everybody, kind of grew up. Everybody, moved on and did their thing. So
yeah, I mean, definitely in today's landscape of legacy reboots and everything, I have to imagine that something is coming in the future, whether it's the next movie, The Cursed Child, or a completely. I really hope that they don't. I don't think they need to like reboot or remake like the entire Harry Potter franchise or anything like that. Would just be, I don't know. I think that would be dumb. But definitely, I feel like you're right, Matt. We probably will get the Cursed Child eventually, especially since it fits with the age of the actual actors now and everything.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And it makes sense that it would be coming in the future. But I'm definitely on the train of like doing something completely different, kind of the same thing, sort of the same thing that Star Wars is kind of doing, but I guess kind of doing with Andor, I should say, like getting completely new characters, not really related to the main Harry Potter storyline, but just telling another story in that universe, like a separate story. I think that would be really cool. I was gonna say, did you guys? It reminded me when we were talking about the old characters and how they've aged. Did you guys watch the 20th anniversary Harry Potter anniversary on HBO Max?
I did when it first came out. It's a couple of years ago now, isn't it?
No, it was like last year, I think.
It wasn't too long ago. I watched most of it. It was cool to see everybody back together. And,
I think I saw glimpses of it. I didn't sit down and actually watch it.
Just the reunions of everybody was pretty, I don't know, it was cool. It was emotional. There's a lot of nostalgia and all the actors reminiscing with each other, and it was cool hearing some of the stories of the production and everything. And it was cool with them talking about like behind the scenes stuff of Sorcerer's Stone and how like these kids were 10 years old when they were making this movie, so like they were just being kids on set. They were messing around, screwing around, and they had to kind of wrangle them to get them to settle down and do their scenes and everything. So it was interesting seeing some of that stuff, and it was obviously emotional because they did all the in memorandums for Alan Rickman, and I think Robbie Coltrane, who played Hagrid, like died really shortly after they filmed that 20th anniversary special. So again, like he was in that special talking and getting interviewed, but you know, it was emotional, you know, knowing that he had passed away shortly after that.
He had a quote about it. Like he said something like, you know, I may pass on, but
Mhm.
Hagrid will live on forever or something like that. And I'm like, oh,
that
shit,
hits
that
extra hard.
gets you, dude.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, man.
Yep. So
And I looked it up. So she was at the school. His wife was at the school, but she didn't fight. She got evacuated because she was too young, quote unquote. But she's a pure blood witch.
Oh,
well,
Malfoy.
of course, yeah.
She's from the Greengrass family, which is one of the sacred 28, I guess, royal family or like noble families or whatever. So she was she was kind of a big deal. But dude, listen to their son's name. Scorpius Hyperion. Like that is like I had to see this
the
kid. I gotta
bad
see
guy.
this
He
kid
will,
just
yeah,
because,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you're setting that kid up for
What was it again? Scorpius?
Scorpius Hyperion Malfoy.
Oh shit.
That's
like
a
something
noble
you'd like.
name.
You find out like Cobra Commander's real name or something like that, and
Yeah,
like that's what it's gonna be.
That's like Scorpius Hyperion Malfoy. That's a name right there.
Wow,
Man.
that is a name.
That's a name. So, but yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, we've been talking about Harry Potter for about an hour now. Some good Potter talk. Is there anything else? You know, closing comments, wrapping up. Any thoughts, feelings on the series before we call it?
Shout out to the composer, John Williams.
Well, yes,
like,
of course.
Let's give a little pat on the back for him real quick because I think that's one of the things that makes the movie so good is that theme that goes along with it. That's got a little bit of mystery to it. It's got a little bit of intrigue to it. I don't know. There's something.
It's got a little bit of magic to it.
Yeah, when you hear that little, I don't know, dun, 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 like that whole thing just kind of just like wraps you in like a warm blanket. It's so good.
It's like
sprinkled throughout all of the movies. Like it's
that theme. It's that recurring theme. It's the same thing he did with Star Wars. You know, as soon as you hear that one theme, you know what you're in for. And he, you know, in every movie, you have to hear that right when the title card pops up, and it's like it just gives you that feeling. You know, they're gonna watch a Harry Potter movie.
There's some really good behind the scenes stuff with him, and it shows like how he came up with it and how he composed it and all that kind of stuff. I think it was on one of the DVDs, special features or something like that.
Yeah, it fits.
Definitely worth checking out.
It fits so well with that universe, and I don't think those movies would be half as good without the music and the composition by John Williams.
Agreed. I'm just going to say I said that I hated Dudley, but I absolutely hated with a hard H Dolores Umbridge. So she
she sucked.
She can go jump off of. I don't know what she can jump off of, but she can jump off of all of that. And
you can't call little kid Hermione a cunt without calling Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah, like she was.
She earns it.
Yeah,
she's
like,
brutal.
Like that whole scene with the whole hand thing or whatever, where he's like writing like "I will not tell lies" and it's popping up on. I was like, and she's like, "How many times do I have to write this?" And she's like, "As many times as it takes you to get the point." I'm like, "Look here, all right, you little."
It's fucked up.
Hey, look
well,
here,
right? Just know that she got her comeuppance in the end.
Yeah,
she was sentenced to life in prison in Azkaban. So.
Yeah.
Oh, she really?
Yeah,
she was. Yeah.
In the books.
Yeah.
I think they show her getting arrested in the movie.
Yeah, they saw her getting arrested. Yeah.
I thought it was like the centaurs that ran off with her, and that's the last you saw of her.
No, because remember she came back later on. She was like covered in dirt when they found her, like later on or whatever. And then,
good.
Yeah, and then that was when she went, because that was when she went back. She went back to the. Didn't she go back to the Ministry of Magic's office or something like that for a while?
Oh, we do see her later in another episode. That's true.
No.
Yep.
But yeah. Yep. So I just want to say I hate her with a hard H. So that would be it. And what's the girl's name? Super cute chick. LaFleur.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Delacour.
Yeah, she was a beauty. And so that's all I'm gonna say on that. She was a beauty.
Can't
She's like a wizard
argue there.
Princess.
She
That whole
was.
school is filled with like tall Scandinavian blonde
Yeah, they're all
witches. I'm like,
So
so good, such good movies. I don't know. There's like so many characters. And there's like I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours on these
Yeah.
movies, just reminiscing about. And there's tons of people we haven't mentioned too, but it's so good. Like you're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't seen these yet.
Brandon.
Brandon.
I didn't know that she was. Did you know that Dolores was House Slytherin?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that though.
No, I didn't. I don't think I knew that either.
Shout out to I give a shout out on my episodes all the time, but shout out to fandom pages, because the people who sit down and take the time to like investigate and research like blood types, weights, heights, all this
It's
other
insane.
stuff. Like shout out to, like, they literally have like her signature, they have everything about her wand, the Patronus, and occupations, house, her loyalties, like they have all of that. So shout out
This episode sponsored by fandom.
Right. So apparently she was House Slytherin, so it all makes sense.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun talking about the Potterverse with you guys. Hopefully, maybe we can do another episode in the future once Brandon finally watches all the movies eventually. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but maybe someday.
It will. He's down in Universal now, and I don't even know if he's
Right?
going to
That's
them,
what I'm
so
saying. Like, I would love to go to the the Diagon Alley they have down there.
Oh my god.
Oh, that'd be so good.
For sure.
But all right, we'll take a break here, and then we will come back with a little game of 20 questions right after this. And we are back with a little game of movie 20 questions to wrap it all up. If you don't know how this works, you guys will ask me a series of yes or no questions. You guys get 19 questions and then one guess. Basically, if you guess the movie and you guess it wrong, you lose. So don't guess until you are very sure that you think you got it right. But yeah, pretty simple. So with that, let the questioning begin.
I'll start with. We'll go a
Kick
little
it off.
different this time. Does this movie have magic in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Does this movie have a death in it?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Is this after the year 2000?
Yes.
Does this movie have Hagrid in it?
No.
All right. None of those. None of the Potters. Oh, let's see. Is this? I'm going to keep narrowing it down, I think. Is this after 2010?
No.
So it's in that 2000s range.
Yeah. Let's see.
With magic.
With magic. And you said there is a death.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
See, I'm trying to think of any movies with magic in there. That's a poll right there. It's like,
let's see. Okay, hold on.
No Googling. I see you over there.
I was let me see. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Does this movie have Draco Malfoy in it?
No. It's not necessarily a Harry Potter movie, just FYI.
Okay.
It could be any movie.
Okay.
So I'll count that as a non-question if you want.
Okay, got it. And you said no though.
No, that is a no.
Okay.
We'll just say it's not a Harry Potter movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
we're only 5 in. You can be frivolous with your questions.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Throw them around.
Let's see.
Think of what else is magic? What is wands?
Oh my goodness. There's so many movies. Like there's so many. and I'm trying to like.
You gotta.
in my mind, I'm like.
You got a 10-year range. You know, it's at least came out in 2000 to 2010. Somewhere in there. It's
Something with magic.
It's got
I wanna
magic.
Compete with. wanted to compete with Harry Potter.
It's got magic. It's got what? It's got a death. There is at least one death in this movie.
Is it an animated movie?
No.
Okay, that'll help a little bit. We try going by focus it down by genre. We could focus it down by we could try and pick an actor out, but
That's what I was trying. Yeah, that's what I was trying.
Actors are a little tough sometimes because very very focused.
Let's see. So it has magic. There is a death. Draco Malfoy is not in it.
Like it could be. I'm trying to think of like. Feel free to spitball out loud too, because like the one movie that sticks in my head is Constantine. Like that's technically got magic in it, doesn't it? I don't know what you consider that. The dark arts.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it does have the dark arts. This is just a movie in general.
Yes, this is just a movie.
Oh,
yes.
it could be any movie. Down. Yeah, that's where I narrowed myself down. Okay.
It could be. I guess the Lord of the Rings are in this.
Yeah, because it does have
in this range.
There's some magic.
Yep, could
there
be
are some deaths.
Any movie.
Does this movie have a superhero in it?
No.
Okay. Because I was thinking spitball, and I was thinking like, okay, well, you always have like the Marvel movies, because I mean they had Scarlet Witch,
the X-Men, all those.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings kind of sticks right in my brain right now. Is this? Would you consider? If it has magic in it, it's probably going to be a fantasy movie.
Yeah, it would be.
I would think in general. So that's probably
maybe.
Not a good one.
You never know.
I mean, if it's not magic, then it's sci-fi. Because what is it? I forget what the phrase is. Any technology far enough advanced is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah. Yeah, science fiction. Let's see. 2000.
Should I just drop a hard one on him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does this movie have Gandalf in it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Let's see.
Hey, there we go. All right, now we just got to figure out which one it is.
Right.
I don't remember what years they came out.
I think
the first one was probably like 2001 or 2002-ish. So I think probably all three of them are in that.
Yeah. So I would assume that it'd probably be I didn't even know that there were three of them. So I don't even know what the third one is. I would assume it's
I had COVID this last couple of weeks. And I just rewatched all of them. So
I would assume it's
fresh on me.
Based on, because you said the first one came out, you said in like early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I would say the second one probably, we said it was narrowed down between 2000 and 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
got that 10-year range.
It's probably like 2002, 2005, 2008, or like that. I think they all came out pretty quick after each other.
But you know him more than I do. So which one would you think that he potentially go with?
I mean, you could ask a really easy question.
I was gonna say, is this the first of this movie of the series that came out?
Yes, it is.
There we go.
You want to solve? I mean, you asked the question that narrowed it down.
Is it? Yeah. Is this Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring? The Fellowship of the Ring.
Is that your final? No, I'm just kidding. You forgot the first the. You said Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship.
The Lord of the
the
Rings,
Lord of the. Yeah, two thes in there. Yes, that is correct. Yes, good job.
Oh man, good job. I wasn't much help, so I'm just going to say that was a good job by you.
Listen, you did it. There's deaths and no Hagrid or Malfoy.
There you go.
That is true.
I contributed.
I chose it because I didn't realize that it came out. That Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Fellowship of the Ring both came out in 2001.
Well, that was one of those things that everybody talked about, because like that was the split in the universe. Because most people who really fell in love with one didn't necessarily really fall in love with the other one, because they were kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like, because I know a lot of people that like still to this day have not. Well, I wouldn't say haven't watched Harry Potter, but they're like, no, Lord of the Rings is like better, just because of like them coming out around the same time.
they're
That's
completely different.
I think
Completely
I was probably
different
one
audiences.
of the Lord of the Rings guys back then, but
Mm-hmm.
I love them both, so I can't argue. I can't pick a favorite child.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Lord of the Rings. I like Lord of the Rings. I'm not obviously as hot on it as Dave and Brandon. It's like they're cream of the crop, but we should do at least the Fellowship for an episode one day, because I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, that used to be like a movie to fall asleep to. Like, I've probably seen it like
Just one that
400
rewatch
times.
every
You just throw it on because it's always on HBO or one of the, I don't know, something streaming. So
cool.
Nice.
Well, good job, guys.
We get to go to space camp.
Yep, you're both going to space camp
Yeah.
since you won. Yeah, let's wrap up here. Thanks a lot, Matt, for joining us. Just give us one more quick little shout out to Anime Talk for all of our great viewers out there, so they can check it out.
No, thanks again. Thanks, guys, for having me on. My name is Matt St. Jack. So I host a show called Anime Talk. That's with an exclamation point. That's how you can discern the difference between me and the other one. Yeah, so like I said, I talk pretty much everything anime. I talk rankings, I talk relationships, I talk tournaments, I talk movies, I talk everything anime. So if you like anime, you should definitely give us a listen, or give me a listen. It's just me, myself, and I. But you can find me on social media. So my Instagram and Twitter, I'm a lot more active on Twitter. You can find me at Anime Talk 12, the number 1 and 2. So you can find me there on those. Like I said, more active on Twitter. Reach out to me, and you can find me anywhere that you listen to your podcast.
You're gonna have to post some of those tournament links. I'm a sucker for a good bracket or a good tournament, so make sure you get those in the Discord.
Yeah, for sure. I sure will.
Well, speaking of that, I'll wrap us up here. If you want to join our Discord, you can join the Nomads of Fantasy Discord at thenomadsoffantasy.com/Discord. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Nomads of Fantasy. You can email us, nomadsoffantasy@gmail.com, with any questions, comments, suggestions, all that good stuff. I think that's about it. Well, with that, we'll get out of here. And as always, safe travels, Nomads.